Where I want to start here quickly is with the MVP of the game, and that's Todd Bowles. And we'll get to Brady in 90 seconds, but first, let me give credit where it's due. What Todd Bowles did and what that defensive front did was wreck the entire game. Now, that's not a unique take. People are going to have that take throughout the day. If you watch the football game, you understand that's what happened. But the way he did it, I don't know if people understand. Todd, that game yesterday was the least any Todd Bowles team has blitzed in 5 years. The way he approached that game saying, you know what I love to do? You know what has gotten me here? Play man-to-man coverage and send people at the quarterback. Nope. We're going to play too high safety for 90+% of the game. We're going to trust that our front four can whoop your beleaguered offensive line, and we are going to see if what had been an unstoppable offensive attack for 3 years can finally be stopped, and it was. I understand the Bucs have excellent defensive players, but they are not the purple people eaters, and they looked like that last night, and that is where Todd Bowles gets massive credit. And to partially steal a take from my buddy Kevin Wildes, I know all the head coaching jobs are full, but if I'm a team, I am at least calling a meeting and saying, how happy are we with our head coach? Particularly if I'm, a team in the AFC West, like say the Denver Broncos, that is running it back another year with Vic Fangio, that maybe I say, you know what? Todd Bowles just did this to Patrick Mahomes. We got to go through Patrick Mahomes. Let's quietly contact his agent, see if he'd be available. So Todd Bowles, that coaching staff, Shaq Barrett, JPP, Sue, Vita Vea, those awesome linebackers, Devin White and Levante David, they are the story of yesterday. But the story of the season and the story that is most interesting big picture is, of course, what this means for Thomas Edward Patrick Brady, who is just, for some, the greatest person ever come into their sports life. And for the rest of us, for so many years, the bane of so many of our existences. And when we were watching Tom Brady yesterday, I know a lot of the discussion was the NFL GOAT combo. Can Mahomes make this a discussion, or can Brady put it out of reach forever? The answer to that is actually option C. Brady didn't put it out of reach forever, but there is now a Bob Beamon in the long jump in 1968 style gap between first and second. It is so large, it's incomprehensible that anyone come even close to it anytime soon. All the quarterbacks that have more than 2 rings are retired. The only quarterback active with 2 rings is Big Ben, and he is semi-retired. And then there's Pat and Aaron and Russell and a handful of others with 1 that have, 3 careers worth of rings to win if you're going to do a count the rings discussion to determine the GOAT. Patrick Mahomes had a golden opportunity 2 years ago in the AFC Championship game to prevent Mahomes from getting ring number 6. They lost the coin toss, never touched the ball in overtime, and he had a golden opportunity last night to make the ring count 6-2, and for a lot of reasons we will get into, Mahomes had the worst game of his career, most of which is not his fault, but history won't remember that. History will not care that Eric Fisher was out. History will not care of Todd Bowles' defensive scheme. History will simply look at 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, the first time in his entire football life from high school his team didn't score a touchdown in a game. That's how they'll remember it in 7-1 Brady. So if the football GOAT discussion is not one we can have, here is one we can have. And here is what Tom Brady, as much as it pains me to say, here is what he ascended to last night. He ascended to a level in American team sports that there was only currently one person at. And that level is, I am the system. I am the championship culture. I am the winning. Where I go, it goes. Now, some other guys maybe could have done that. We just never got to see him do it. Bill Russell, for instance, the greatest champion by ring count in American team sports history. Maybe if Bill Russell would have left the Celtics for the Lakers or the Sixers, the winning would have gone with him. But we don't know that. What we know is he was in Boston for 13 years, they won 11 titles. Joe Montana tried it and damn near accomplished it, but not quite. Joe Montana won his 4 Super Bowls with the Niners, left for my hometown Chiefs. A good Chiefs team made them a very good Chiefs team, but they got to one AFC title game and never any further with Joe. Favre tried it. He left the Packers, went to the Jets, had them 7-5 before the wheels fell off there, then goes to the Vikings. Damn near wins an MVP, gets him to a conference championship game, and then the why would you ponder passing play happens, and that's as close as he got. Michael Jordan tried it. Went to the Wizards after a couple years sabbatical. Now, we don't hold that time against Michael, and Michael played well, was a 20-point-a-game guy, but couldn't even get the Wizards to the postseason. And we understand he's 40 years old. It's not a knock, but it's the truth. And it's also the truth that with Michael, before Phil and after Phil, there was no winning whatsoever. Tom Brady has now done this outside of the New England cocoon. He has now done this without Bill Belichick. He has done this in his first season with a new team that was the losingest team historically in the history of American sports, with a head coach that was a good head coach, but not a proven championship head coach. So what did Tom Brady gain with this Super Bowl victory? Well, he gained admission to a room that previously was only occupied by LeBron James. The room of, I am the system. It does not matter what shape your franchise was in before I got there. You bring me in, and we are competing for championships immediately and perpetually while I am here. And by the way, when I leave, everything will go to hell. I don't know if that's how it always will be in New England, but that's how it was in New England this year. Brady also took another page out of LeBron's playbook, which was, let me try dabbling in a little coaching. We heard throughout the year they're installing more of Brady's game plan, more of Brady's offense. And Brady obviously throughout the year took a page, vintage LeBron playbook. I'll be the unnamed silent partner that's not silent as far as the GM goes. I'm going to tell you some guys I would like. Hey, there's Gronk. I'm familiar with him. Let's bring him in. Oh, Antonio Brown? He's toxic. Nobody wants him. Toxic for good reason. Well, I'll let him live with me. Bring him in. And so when you look at the all-time greatest athletes in American team sports history, there are now 2 that we can confidently say, where they go, the winning follows. And I do think this reframes the way people are going to look at the Brady-Belichick era. Because for some, it will simply become the Brady era. I don't know if that's fair, and I don't know if that will be long-standing, because if Bill has a good run without Tom, then he can reframe the conversation himself. But Brady set the bar so high. Even the biggest Tom Brady fans were not picking the Bucs to win the Super Bowl going into this year. Most weren't. I think there were a few that were. I think what you saw was people saying, well, even if Tom's really good, Belichick has time on his side. Belichick's going to coach longer than Brady will. Belichick can control so many different things. I think people were ready for the conversation to be starting to tilt fairly or unfairly in Belichick's favor. But what Brady ended any doubt about last night was he's the system. He is the culture. The winning follows him. And the fact that he went through Breeze, Rodgers, Mahomes on the way to the Super Bowl only helps that. The fact that they were a middling team until the bye, they had the last bye in the NFL this year, and then since then they still have not lost, only helps that. And the firsthand testimonials of his teammates and of people in the organization that said our undying belief, our confidence, our faith came from number 12, and their seemingly immediate blood-like loyalty to him, it only reminds you of one athlete ever, who happens to be the greatest athlete ever in LeBron James. And so that is what Brady secured last night. Not a bigger gap between he and Mahomes, because there already was a massive gap. One guy's been in the league 20 plus years, the other guy just got here. What he secured last night is certifying that you can say the winning is about Tom. First, second, and third. And there's only one other team sport athlete we can say with evidence that's true for. So it's Tom and LeBron in a room by themselves. Hope I don't come up in any of those conversations.
Obviously, I didn't play the way I wanted to play. But, I mean, what else can you say? All you can do is leave everything you have on the field, and I feel like the guys did that. They were the better team today. They beat us pretty good. The worst I think I've been beaten in a long time. But I'm proud of the guys and how they fought till the very end of the game.
So there's Patrick Mahomes dealing with the worst moment of his professional career with a fair amount of grace. I understand the conversation is going to be, in part, what does this do to Mahomes' legacy? Because the tax in American sports of being awesome is a level of dissection unlike anything else in the culture. This is not, there is no discussion if Daniel Day-Lewis puts out a bad movie like, oh, what does this do to him in the pantheon of actors? We don't do that with, I don't think we do it with musicians. I only listen to talk radio, so I don't know much about music. Joy could help me out there. I don't think we do it with musicians. I know we don't do it with actors. And we don't do it with really, really, really good athletes. We only do it with the greatest of the greats, right? Every game is a referendum. And Mahomes has been so great up to this point in his career that it's fair game to ask, what does a Super Bowl where you score 0 touchdowns, where you throw 2 picks, where you're the favorite and you get annihilated due to your legacy? And while a win here would have been massive for his legacy and his ability to climb the quarterback pyramid, if you watched the game and you are being honest and you have any sense of fairness or accuracy, I think it is incredibly difficult to come away with any take other than there is not a quarterback in the league that would have fared better yesterday. There's not one. That's not to say that Mahomes doesn't have weapons. He has amazing weapons. And it's not to say the Bucs defense is the greatest defense of all time. It's very good, but it's a very good defense. But it's not the greatest defense in Super Bowl history. It wasn't even the greatest defense in the NFL this year. But in last night's game, with that Chiefs offensive line lost from the beginning, with Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, 2 men I have enormous respect and affection for, inexplicably not having anyone help the offensive line on 92% of the snaps, 92% of the dropbacks, they blocked with 5. Didn't have a single extra blocker out there, even when it was clear those 5 could not block the Tampa front. I think it is incredibly intellectually dishonest to ding Mahomes for this one. You can say it's a missed opportunity. You can say, he left some meat on the bone of the season. All of that's fair. But if you watched the game, not only did I not think he played poorly, I think he made two of the most remarkable throws I've ever seen him make. The 3rd and 11 early, and I will think for the rest of my life, I am going to replay what if Tyreek comes down with that 3rd and 11, and what if the pass interference shaky calls aren't made. But neither here nor there. This play right there, when it's 0-0, it looks like, oh, that's a tough catch. Hit him in the face mask. Hit Tyreek in the face mask. He's avoiding a rusher there. He steps up. He throws without planting his feet, sidearmed, in the face mask. And then this other throw, now the game's mostly decided at this point, but it's the very beginning of the 4th quarter. Chiefs scored 21 points in 7 minutes in the 4th quarter of last year's Super Bowl. Maybe it's alive. That throw is a magic trick. He is horizontal to the field, and once again, it hits Darrell Williams in the face mask. And I don't know how that's humanly possible, that throw there, but to me, the level of physical agility that it takes to make that throw is the level of mental agility you need if you make last night's game about Patrick Mahomes as opposed to about Todd Bowles, the defensive front for Tampa, and the way that Tampa's offense, by the way, after the opening 2 drives of the game, went up and down the field at will on Kansas City. Kansas City's defense had been bend but not break for a couple of years and had stepped up in its biggest moments. They seemed to have the wind taken out of their sails after the Matthew pick was negated by a defensive holding 30 yards away from the play. But the defense didn't show up either. So if I'm laying blame, Patrick Mahomes is very, very far down that list of folks who have accountability for what happened to the Chiefs last night.